Good morning, social media sites and friends and everybody else. Welcome to part 10 of Andrew and the Magic Giveash ometer, growing up with ADHD. I'm going to read to you 2 chapters today, Step Inside My Brain and the Marmite Effect. Oh, and thank you for all the kind words that you've been sending me on the internet, by the way. They really are appreciated. Have a minute, a little go of my coffee. Let's do this thing. Step inside my brain. The diagnosis. I wanted this to be right, so I went to a man who I believe to be the best clinical psychologist in the profession. Funny really, when I approached him, he told me that the first time he saw me speak at a conference, he thought that I was the most ADHD person he had ever seen and described me as having absolutely no filter. And yet I'd not seen it myself. Oh well, I do remember the conference. I had gone around observing people, behaviours and general things. I recall telling the predominantly autistic audience how well I thought that they had coped with the bourbon biscuits having white fillings. Biscuit aficionados amongst you will know that anything other than a brown filling in a bourbon is an outrageous travesty. I guess that's the no filter element. It's certainly got a lot of laughs, which is often how I gauge whether the audience likes me or not. Now, you would think that the psychologist would get stuck in and start looking for signs of ADHD, but that's not how it works. They don't look for ADHD these days. They conduct a full assessment and see what they find. If you think about it, that makes perfect sense. Some of the presentations of ADHD, autism, etc. are very similar to the other conditions such as mental health difficulties, attachment disorders, fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, and many others. So therefore, the idea is that the diagnosis is correct and accurate. The diagnosis consisted of 4 4-hour sessions. For a person with ADHD, 4 hours is hell on earth, an eternity. Much of the content of these sessions had disappeared from my memory. Now, memory for ADHD people is notoriously intermittent, although I do remember being given coloured brick puzzles to sort, which I had a little go at, and pushed them back to the psychologist, exclaiming, "I can't do this." Pretty much everything else is gone from my mind. However, here is a part of the assessment which struck me as a combination of ill thought through and ironically out of step with ADHD. This was a 4-hour session where I was expected to talk through my life story from the beginning up to the present day. This would involve me remembering everything in order and then recounting it to the psychologist without getting sidetracked. Now here's the rub. People with ADHD can't do this. We don't remember things in order. Now, the point of the activity is for the psychologist to get an idea of our lives and investigate whether our presentations are ADHD or whether they are something else, like trauma or something. Funny, really. Now, when I was about 19 or 20, a guy a couple of years older than me took advantage of me in a way I didn't enjoy. But that never came into my head. It never really does. And that's the point. This potentially traumatic, life-changing event didn't register on that particular day. I felt that I should phone whoever designs the tests and demand a recount. In a nutshell, if you can carry out this activity, you probably don't have ADHD. Other major things I forgot to include: emigrating to New Zealand, having David Bowie say hi to me, and jamming on bass with the guitarist from the Trogs, who was rather good. How it actually works is that on any particular day we may have a different focus, and so in essence you will probably get a different Andrew on different days. By the way, I've just remembered that according to my maternal grandmother, I'm not too distantly related to Paul McCartney. Told you so. I actually run an activity on some of my workshops in which I emulate this phenomenon. What I do is to give each delegate a sheet of A4 paper and ask them to list 10 key events in their life in order. And off they go. Started school, first kiss. Graduated, got married. Bought my first house, had the twins. Got my first headship. Became a vegetarian, became a grandparent. Had my first cruise. Then what I do is I ask them to cut up them up, turn them over, shuffle them, and remove 3 of them. Okay, let's put them back together again. Abracadabra, this is your life on ADHD. Graduated, started school. Had the twins, became a grandparent. Bought my first house, first kiss. Got my first headship. And that's how it really is. For me, anyway. The Marmite Effect. I love my ADHD. It is mine and part of what the people who care about me love about me. I do, however, need to clarify this by letting you know that my real friends really do love me, but there are many who do not. You see, there is such a thing as the Marmite Effect in ADHD. You either love it or hate it. For me, there seems to be a pattern. People first meet me, and then they really like me. They decide to be a little closer with me, maybe work with me or invite me places. And then the magic begins to happen. They learn to hate me. I'm really not sure what it is I do, but that's what happens. Now, you would think that it would be quite easy to work out what it is that upsets them so much, but there's the paradox. The people who love me really don't understand why the people who hate me are so against me, and the people who hate me become so vehemently against me, they will go to great lengths to try and hurt me. It's not a massive issue to me because I'm used to it, and as you know, I have the people who love me around me, so I can take comfort in them. I had an accountant one time who had DDWT engraved into his office window. It stood for Don't Deal with Tossers. Sage counsel, my friend. I would say that I have got about 10 really good friends, and they're exactly that. Really good friends. What that does open up, however, is the plight of the child in school. I have 4 children whom I love dearly, but they are all very individual, and have all been described as characters, which I'm sure you are aware in school speak is not usually a compliment. One is a gifted scientist, engineer and IT whiz who often knows more than his teachers. One is a devout reader who will switch off and pick up a book if she gets bored in a lesson. She's gone on to be a TEDx speaker just like her daddy. One is a constant adventurer and joker with an incredible sense of humour and a zest for life. And the youngest is probably one of the most powerful human beings I've ever met. Needless to say, like many other children, these 4 are often finding themselves fall foul of the system. So imagine the child who cannot sit for more than a few minutes, calls out and interrupts other children because they are overexcited, reacts immediately to perceived negative comments and situations, or stares out of the window, imagining cloud shapes. So many education professionals are so understanding of the needs of these children, and so many really want to help them. And I and other specialists like me will do everything we can to empower these professionals. But that does not stop it from wearing a bit thin from time to time. I understand that. We just have to step back and remember that these children may not be able to control their behaviours from time to time. Well, tomorrow we're going to look at Find Your Groove. So thank you for listening, and don't forget you can get the book on Amazon, $7.99 for the paperback, just like this one, and you can get $4.99. You can get one on Kindle, so that's kind of good. And if you've got Kindle Unlimited, you get it for free. And actually, you get it for free if you listen to me read it every day. They're all going up on YouTube. They're all being saved. So have a fabulous day. Looking forward to seeing you soon. Peace, love, stay out of trouble.